As I always like to say, since we live on Gilligan's Island, today's message will be brought to you by the professor, Mr. Adam Ayers.
It's fun. It's a liability. One of those, I want to deny it sometimes, but I can't. So, yeah.
Well, welcome to Cultural Anthropology 101. Sign-up sheet is going around. You get 3 absences.
Sorry, that's my other speech. But last time when we were together, we played a little game which was one of these things is not like the others, right? So we're going to do a different game this time. This time is going to be what happens next. Your job is to decide or to figure out what happens next and to propose it to me. And part of that job is what's going on here. So you can, in order to project what happens next, you have to be able to determine what's going on here. So here's the scenario I'm going to give you. Wendy and I were at a beach. It was a beach nearby. And we had pulled up, and I went out, enjoyed some waves, and came back in, and we went back to our car. We're getting ready to back out from where we had parked. And behind us are 2 Toyota Tacomas with the beds of the trucks towed together so that we can't back out. There's no direction that we can go. They've pulled and they've put, there's about maybe this much between the bumpers of the 2 trucks. Thinking, oh man, I can't back out. I have no idea whose trucks these are. I'm looking around, people just looking the other way. Like, okay, we can go forward. That means like going out kind of into the beach sand and then cutting around the front of the cars. We could do it. The sand's like almost enough. But we're going to have to go steady and not stop, So we get ready and we go, pull out, and we're moving. We're nice and steady. We're floating, kind of a little, woo. And I see this gal sitting in front of one of the truck, kind of off to the side, but kind of in front. She's sitting in her beach chair, and she's got a girl next to her about 6 or 7 years old. She's like, and the little girl runs out in front of our car as we're driving. And so, of course, I got to hit it and kind of skid. And you get stuck. You ever seen the cartoons with the... Right. So we're there stuck. Give it a quick assessment. No, we're in too deep. Now I know I got floor mats in the back because I always carry an extra set of floor mats. By the way, the hot tip, if you're going to be driving sand, go to Ross, get a $10 set of floor mats, throw them in the back of your car. Because with an extra set of floor mats, 5 floor mats, 5 in your car, that's 10 floor mats. You put them in front of the wheels, and you can basically make a snowshoe. And you can get 20 feet of floor mats on any sand. It doesn't matter how soft that sand is. You can float and get enough speed. If you got to do it 5 times, you do it 5 times, right? And you can get out. So I know that's fine, except now our car's like this. And it's faced toward the people who are now collecting their chairs out in front to block our way to get off the sand. So here's the question. Well, actually, we'll do a little bit more. There's the apparently male companion, I'm not sure, of the gal in the seats. See the iPhone come out? Pretty soon these big 4x start rolling on each side of our car, right? So what happens next? What happens next? First off, what's going on here? They're going to invite us to join the party, in a way. Eh? What happens next? Somebody offers to tow. Yeah? Was that next part, Ira? For money. Hey, ongawanto. See, a kind offer for a kind assistance for the kind. See? It's going to be, do you want some help? It might be nice if you could, I could do that for maybe $80, $200. How much you got? Right? Especially if you're police, right? It's a profession out there, you know. So the question is, do the people in the trucks want us freed from the sand, or do they want us stuck? Stuck, even though the offer is going to be to help us get free from the sand. So is it, do you want the people free from the sand because you want to help, or is it that you want them stuck so that you can offer to help? See? This illustrates a basic principle of commercialism, which is necessity is the mother of profit. If there's a need and you have a limited control of the resource for that need, you have an opportunity. Tragically read this week about, and I know that there are economic pressures all around, but one particular exotic pharmaceuticals company just got approval for a drug, a particular drug, gene therapy, I believe it is, for a very special disorder that afflicts babies, a neuromuscular disorder in which they degrade and die by the time they're 3. How much the price for this drug? $2 million. $2 million. And it said, financing will be offered. But how much would you pay for your baby not to degrade in front of your eyes and die? You see, it's worse in catastrophe and war and trouble and hardship when people's lives are at threat. I mean, how much could you get for ammo in a zombie apocalypse, right? Anything you want. Theoretically. I remember my buddy, we were in Jerusalem. This is a number of years ago. It's the day the truce between the peace accords between the Palestinians and the Israelis broke down. We were in Jerusalem. I was absolutely sick. By the way, never eat Bedouin yogurt. Just letting you know, if they offer it, politely decline and ask for tea. But I was sick, man. I was taking the Technicolor yawn all day. It was bad. And I just made it to Gethsemane. I have to go to Gethsemane. And then I promised somebody I'd put a prayer on the Wailing Wall, so I make it there. And I'm feverish. He goes off on his own after that. He just didn't want to see me blanching colors. I go back, and I'm at the hotel. My buddy comes in. He's a very accomplished Yale graduate, high-powered attorney from LA, a Mexican-American guy who's champion, multiple times, 5-time Mexican rodeo champion and a national level windsurfer and on, you know, one of those guys. And he comes in and he is madder than a wet hen. He is furious. Boom, the door opens. He comes in, I see him reaching his wallet, fap, on the table, and the phone comes up and he goes, "We are out of here." Okay. You know, okay. That's literally what I said. And it's the first time I've ever seen an American Express black card on the table. He's like, "Arr." We had been separated. He was in the Arab quarter, and he's Mexican-American. He looks Palestinian. And as he's walking down the street, they were closing down the city. Israelis saw him, soldiers saw him down the street and just opened fire. He opened the nearest door and jumped into someone's house. And he's, "We're out of here. I just paid a Rolex watch for a cab ride." Because they had shut down the cabs. And he flagged the cab. He said, "How much for a ride back to our hotel?" The guy said, "I'll take your watch." A Rolex watch for a cab ride. No Uber then, you know. See, necessity is the mother of invention, except when it comes to commercial opportunity. And then it becomes the mother of exploitation, because we see in that a chance. Now, we've been talking over the last few months, we've been doing a series on unknowns of the Bible, and they're not really unknown. We know them. But typically speaking, they're embedded in these roiling narratives that have like 6 narratives all entwined, and they're kind of hidden. They're just unnoticed, or it's hard to pick them out. But today we're going to do that. We're going to pick a guy out of a chaotic whirlwind of events in which people are under threat, and oh, do the sharks come out when there's a catastrophe. So we're going to pick up in 2 Samuel chapter 15. And I'll give you the backstory. The backstory is this. This is during the latter part of the reign of King David. David and, who do we think of David and? Goliath. Goliath was from where, by the way? Anybody? Gath, the Philistine town of Gath. Now remember that. So David is advanced in years, not terribly, but he is toward the end of his reign. And his son Absalom, who has no soul, but is big and handsome, bigger than life. It says he had these raven black locks, and he'd cut them once a year, and he would weigh. He's that vain. He would weigh the hair to see how much it weighed. And it weighed the equivalent of, for us today, 6 pounds. So he's this big, and he conveniently avenges his sisters. That's a long story, but he avenges his sister by taking the life of the guy who was above him in line to the throne. And the only guy who was above him in line to the throne, which is a rather convenient thing to do. For that, he got exiled and eventually was brought back to the capital. And the scripture says he has spent 4 years at this point undermining David by saying, oh, he'd stop people going to court and go, my father doesn't have time for you, but my brother, and he'd hug him. Say, if only I were king, I would take care of you. 4 years of that. David doesn't understand. Finally, Absalom goes to a place called Hebron. And at Hebron, he arranges a coronation. Now, if we could get a slide up here. It's going to take us a little bit to unpack this narrative, so just follow along. Here's Hebron. Got it? You see this ridge of mountains? Kind of goes down this way and down this way to the Dead Sea. Don't go on these cliffs. That's like Nepali. See that? See how steep that is? Right? Lowest place on the surface of the earth. That's why it's dead. So there's these hills like this. Hebron is right here. Jerusalem is right here. Hebron happens to be the place where David was coronated, and it's the place where Absalom was born. David spent his first 3 years of his reign there. Got it? So Absalom is hometown boy in the place where David got coronated. It's a little bit like if this were Washington, D.C., and this were Philadelphia. Got it? The old capital. Now, the distance between here is 16 miles. There's a couple of different variable routes, but they're like 18 miles. So to get a picture of it, that's the same distance as from here to Lihue Airport, right? Now, average person walking at average speed, how much ground can they cover? What kind of speed do they make? What's that? 2 to 5 miles an hour, somewhere in there. So like three if you're walking fairly quickly. Now imagine an army doing a forced march. Probably closer to 4, because it's somewhere between 2 and 5 miles an hour. You got 18 miles to cover, and you're covering it at about 4 miles an hour. How long does it take? You see, I am a professor, huh? And there were oranges. There were 6 oranges, and yeah. Anyway, how long does it take? About 4.5 hours. That's the only distance between this capital and the rising coup. And Absalom has accrued to himself a number of people from David's administration, friends and family, and he's a crown prince, and everybody likes him, and he's popular, and he won on The Voice. That's a variant manuscript. It's not unreliable. But it's a 4-hour march. That's all that separates them. And we'll pick up the story in 2 Samuel chapter 15. And I'm going to hop around. Again, apologies, Lucas, for driving you crazy, because I do that with him. I'm like, here are the verses, and then I read other verses. That's what happens. So we pick up 2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 12. While Absalom was offering the sacrifices, he sent for Ahithophel the Gilonite, David's counselor, from his city Gilo, or Gilo actually. But Ahithophel is like Einstein and Rommel, if you put them all in one, with Stephen Hawking and Will Rogers. It says in the scripture that in those days to inquire of Ahithophel was like inquiring of an angel of God. Like this guy never gets it wrong. What's going on here? Boom. What should I do? Boom. This guy just knows, he's got the insight. He's got the acumen and can give you the advice you need. And Absalom sends for him and he goes with Absalom instead of David. We don't know how old this guy was, by the way. He could have been Absalom's age. The conspiracy grew in strength and the people with Absalom kept increasing. A messenger came to David saying, the hearts of the Israelites have gone after Absalom. Then David and all of his officials who were with him in Jerusalem said, get up, let's flee. Otherwise, there'll be no escape from Absalom. Hurry, or he will soon overtake us and attack the city with the edge of the sword and bring disaster down upon us. You see, normally, if it was an invading nation, you would hole up and endure a siege. But he can't do that because he has no idea who in the city is actually for Absalom. And they could go open the gates. They could, knife him in his sleep. He has no idea. His friends are with Absalom now. So he's got to flee. And here's how he flees. If we could get the next slide. This is the path he's going to take. We'll get back to that in just a second. Actually, sorry, I prompted you too soon. See, I drive you crazy. So he goes to flee. He goes up out of Jerusalem, up over to the Mount of Olives. We'll see that in a little bit. And he's mourning as he goes. And a guy named Ittai the Gittite, right? Shika the burning sand, right? He was a 50s bebop rocker, Ittai the Gittite, right? Gittite means what? From the city of Gath. Ittai the Gittite leads a contingent of 600 mercenaries from Gath who had just arrived from the town of Goliath, where David had spent some time as a mercenary, and they get ready to go with David down out and flee the city. David goes, you can stay here. It's okay. They go, nope, we're going with you. So they're with him. Abiathar the high priest comes out with the ark and says, we're going to take the ark with you. David goes, don't do that. We did that once. Other people did that. That's not a good idea. Bad things happen when you do that. Sends the ark back. But he has to arrange for a spy network to stay in place while he's leaving. And we hear this in 2 Samuel 15:28. It says, actually, we'll start verse 27. The king also said to the priest Zadok, look, go back into the city in peace, you and Abiathar, with your two sons, Ahimaaz your son, and Jonathan the son of Abiathar. See, I will wait at the fords of the wilderness until the word comes from you to inform me. So now if we can get that slide back up there that I pre-queued you on. There we go. Here's the fords. I think Oldsmobiles are over here, but I'm not sure. Okay, here's the fords of the Jordan. He has to go here to Jerusalem, up through a place called Bahurim that we'll see later, and over this crest, down past what Josephus called Mount Scopus, down this old road to Jericho, which is right here. Now you see that when the people of Israel came in, they came in this way, over to Jericho and then up into the mountains. But this is Moab, or modern-day Jordan, or Ammon. Ammon is over here. You see these hills. He's going to go down here and then wait here, because if things go well, he can go back up to Jerusalem. If things go poorly, he can flee into Moab or over into Ammon or up this way. Got it? So those are the four. This is 37 miles, which is about from here to Kauai. In fact, it's 36 miles from here to Kauai State Park. Got it? So he's going to do a forced march. Now at 4 miles an hour, 36 miles, how long do you march? 9 hours. But you got to take it a little bit slower because it's a long march. So you're going to do a good 10-hour march on the run through this nice tropical area. See that? nothing but sand and chalk and limestone cliffs. There is nothing there. Hotter than the blue flame. I mean, it's just, by the way, this is the road that the Good Samaritan gets nailed on in the story, okay? It is bad, and it is dry, and it is hot, and they're on the run, and they didn't plan for it. And so they just take off, and they're going. While that happens, this guy named Ziba, we pick up chapter 16, verse 1. When David had passed a little beyond the summit, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth. Now, Mephibosheth is Jonathan, David's friend's son, who got paralyzed because the nurse dropped him. And he's the only survivor of Saul's family. And Mephibosheth, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth has been living with David because David wanted to do a kindness to him. So you got, now the Gittites, by the way, were 600 soldiers. They end up being 1/3 of David's contingent. So David has at least about 2,000 to 2,500 people with him. Good? Making a forced march. And Ziba comes out, the servant of Mephibosheth. And it says, he brought with him 2 donkeys, saddled, and 200 loaves of bread. Ready for your math problem? 2,500 people, 200 loaves of bread. How much bread per person? About a 12th. Now, when they talk a loaf of bread, they're talking a barley loaf that's about this big, like a pita. I brought you a 1/12 of a pita, each of you, and 100 bunches of raisins. Okay, so you get a 25th of a bunch of raisins, which is like 5. So you have, okay, this is worse than snack. This is not snack time. This is like the communion and the cracker. It's not much of a meal. It's more like a teaser. This is economy class snacks on the airlines. See? Yes, you get 5 pretzels. Oh, you took 6. Let me take that back. There we go. Good. See? 100 bunches of raisins, 100 summer fruits, and 1 skin of wine, which is about 6 gallons, 7 gallons, something like this. Small goat, full. 7 gallons, 2,500 people. Belly up to the bar, boys. You can, okay, that's yours. Now for this, David says, why'd you come up here? What's this? Thanks for the snack. And where's Mephibosheth guy? And Ziba goes, well, I was coming out to greet you, and Mephibosheth was sitting there going, today David's gone, and Israel's going to make me the king. So he doesn't really like you, but I brought you some snacks. David goes, okay, I get it. All of his stuff is yours now. You get the farm, not him. If he is a rebel like you say, if he's an insurgent, I take away his rights to his land and I give it to you because he's an insurgent. So that's a pretty good deal for Ziba. David comes to a place called Bahurim. Bahurim is about 2 miles, that's the next slide, 2 miles outside of Jerusalem, not even kind of that. This is the Temple Mount, got it? This is a little hill. This is the Mount of Olives with the terraces for the, by the way, if you go with Dane on the next Israel trip, you'll be able to see these from a lower perspective. Down in here, good? So here's the Mount of Olives, Gethsemane, right? And over here, and this is a little valley. So David comes up over here, he has to get through Bahurim, which is where these 2 hills are, and you can see the road ducks down, and that's where it starts this long climb, or decline down to the Jordan River. Well, up on these 2 hills, one of them, this guy named Shimei, who's a descendant of Saul's house, gets up on the top and he starts swearing at David. You dirty so-and-so, you deserve this, you man of blood, this is for the house of Saul. And he's throwing rocks at them and cursing David as they're trying to leave. And one of David's guys, a guy named Abishai, Joab's brother, who also has no soul, says, let me just go take this guy's head off. David goes, no killing any people today. We're on the run. Don't kill our family, friends, or whatever it might be. Just a word. Who you are will be revealed by what you do when the person you think is your enemy is at a disadvantage. I'm going to say that again. Who you are will be revealed by what you do when the person who you think is your enemy is at a disadvantage. And when you think you've got him, do you and stick it to him and remind him of that thing? Because now David's powerless. Give it to him, man. Give it to him. Tell him what you think of him. He can't do anything to you now. Although Abishai could have killed him. David goes, no, we're just leaving. So the guy goes along the hillside as David and his men are fleeing and keeps throwing dust and sand in the air and throwing rocks down at them and cursing them, which makes that, journey really easy in the desert. David ends up going down to the fords. And while he's there, it says, chapter 16, verse 15, now Absalom and all the Israelites came to Jerusalem. Absalom and who? All the Israelites. The whole crew's with Absalom now. And Ahithophel was with him. And when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, so Hushai is David's other counselor. David has Ahithophel, which is Einstein, and he has Hushai, who's smart, but, not quite there. But still very influential. And David has told Hushai, I'm going to go and wait at the fords of the wilderness. Whatever Ahithophel says, you say the opposite. Because that guy will get us killed. And Ahithophel's with Absalom. And Ahithophel's first advice? Here's what you got to do. Go, you got to show the people that you're the man and that nothing's ever going to happen with you and David being reconciled. So you go set a tent up on top of the palace and you take the 10 concubines, your dad's concubines that he left to stay and watch over the palace. You take them up there and you sleep with them in front of everybody. And Absalom goes, okay. And they do it. They pitch a tent on top of the palace and everybody sees Absalom go in and sleep with his dad's concubines. Which means this is a scorched earth thing now. There's no reconciliation. Ahithophel's second advice is chapter 17, verse 1. Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, let me choose 12,000 men, which is actually the word's kind of like regiments, divisions, and I will set out and pursue David tonight. What are the odds? 12,000 against 2,500. 6-1. 5-1, 6-1. I will set upon him while he's weary and discouraged and throw him into a panic. Remember, they're only 8 to 10 hours apart. And all the people who are with him will flee. I'll strike down only the king, and I'll bring all the people back to you as a bride comes to her husband. You seek the life of only one man, and all the people will be at peace. And the advice pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. Ahithophel says, look, we go, we overwhelm them. They're going to be tired. They will be on the run. They're going to be discouraged. He's down. We know that David is tired. He's on the run. He's downcast, and he is going to be stopping at the fords. He goes, I'll go down there. We'll just blaze in there. We'll focus all of our attack on David. We'll kill him, and then we'll go, who else you got to be king? And everyone's going to say, we kind of like Absalom. He's handsome anyway. And they'll go, oh, too bad about David, but we really like the new guy. Great advice. Now, Hushai says the opposite. He says, no, wait. Gather all Israel like the sands of the sea and mount yourself up and go before them and then fall on them and show your great glory. And Absalom in his great ego goes, that's a better plan. I like parades. I really want. Wait, get me in this light. King. Sorry. Instagram generation. So that's what he wants to do. Now, Hushai has to send word to David, and he sends word and these spies down to David. Can we get the next slide? He says, I'm sorry, that text will work fine. He said to the priest Zadok and Abiathar, thus and so did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel, and I said the opposite. He doesn't know what Absalom has decided. Therefore, send quickly and tell David, don't lodge tonight at the fords of the wilderness, but by all means cross over. Otherwise, the king and all the people who are with him will be swallowed up. He's like, the knife's to your throat, dude. Scratch the plan. You got to get word to David, scratch the plan, because he might be dead. And the spies have to go hide at this place called En Rogel. Servant girl used to tell them they'd go tell the king, and they couldn't risk being seen in the city. Can we get that slide? Sorry about that, Lucas. So here's En Rogel, or actually En Rogel. Sorry about that. Emphasis on the, well, En Rogel, but Rogelim. It's a play on words on the word for spies, which is Rogelim. Here's the Temple Mount. Here's the valley. This is 550 feet. This is the distance of the KCF property. It's that close. David's palace is up here, where Absalom is. They're down here waiting, and they got to buzz out to Bahurim, which is 2 miles. It's short. It's close. If you yell from here, you can hear it there. It's that close. And they go and they hide at Bahurim, and people are chasing because a boy sees them, and he runs up here. He goes, I saw those guys down there. And so that's what it sounds like, except it was in Hebrew. And so they bail. Meanwhile, guys go chasing out after them. They get to Bahurim, and a lady lets them hide down in the well, and she covers it over with grain. And they go, where are the guys? And she says, oh, they're over the water. And they think she means they've crossed over the Jordan, but they're really over the water. And so finally they get out and they go and they tell David, and David has to bail again. Next slide, please. Now, verse 24. By the way, Ahithophel, when Absalom doesn't take his advice, he knows it's all over for Absalom, and he goes and he kills himself. He hangs himself. Goes back to his hometown and hangs himself. It says, then David came to Mahanaim while Absalom crossed the Jordan with all the men of Israel. Can we switch over to the Mahanaim slide? So, this is 36 miles. This is about another 10, 12 miles up this way, across these foothills here. This is modern day Jordan and Ammon over here. This is an area called Gilead. Remember that, Gilead. Good? They've done 12 hours to get here, stopped and refreshed themselves, and then got word, bail. And so they do another 12 miles. So that's the distance to Princeville, actually. 40 some odd miles, 43 miles to Princeville from here, but it's 47 miles total that they have to do here. They're exhausted. Exhausted. In verse 24, it says, David came to Mahanaim while Absalom crossed the Jordan with all the men of Israel. So there's only 10 miles between them. It says, the Israelites and Absalom camped in the land of Gilead, up on the hilltop so they can swoop down. When David came to Mahanaim, Shobi son of Nahash from Rabbah of the Ammonites, and Machir son of Amiel from Lodabar, and Barzillai the Gileadite from Rogelim brought beds and basins and earthen vessels and wheat and barley and meal and parched grain and beans and lentils and honey and curds and sheep and... Don't you love this guy? You're tired and you're hot, and somebody says, you want some pretzels and a Dixie cup of water? And then you force yourself another 10 miles, and somebody said, I brought in a food truck for you. Just order up, it's mine. By the way, there's some tents here, and I hope you don't mind air conditioning. I installed air conditioning in them for you. You want beans and lentils and cooking utensils and beds and honey. Try the honey and curds. The honey and curds are great this year. You got to try them. It's like the caviar. Oh, yeah, salmon's on the right. Okay, yeah, just down there near the soda fountain. Good, good. Love it. enjoy. He brings out the whole thing, and he just loads them up, and finally they can rest. Some people are like that, you know. And this guy, Barzillai, loads them up. And it says, why? And cheese from the herd for David and the people who were with him, for they said, the troops are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness. Battle doesn't go so well for Absalom like Ahithophel knew. They massed their troops up on top in Gilead, and David's guerrilla-trained professional soldiers over against the militia that Absalom had. The militia doesn't stand a chance. David takes his troops, they go up, and they fight in the forest where their numbers are an advantage, not a disadvantage. And Absalom's riding his mule through the forest, and his hair gets caught in the branches of an oak, and the donkey takes out, or the mule takes off, and he's like hanging there. Like, I wish I'd cut my hair. Crew cut sounds really good right now. And he can't get it out. Probably he can't reach where it's caught because his hair's so long. Got it? Joab, David's general, he comes up and goes, oh, look what we found. Sticks 3 darts right in his heart. And then 10 of the armor bearers go around and just they slice him to ribbons, throw his body, put him out of rocks over it, go back, game over. And once the battle's over, all the people come back being all smarmy. Shimei goes, hey, I'm the first to welcome you home, guy. That's literally what he says. I'm the first one to welcome you back, aren't I? You know, I had a little bit to drink that day. Didn't take my meds. I was a little, it was too much caffeine. I was uptight. David goes, I'm not going to kill you. All right. Ziba, Mephibosheth comes on a donkey. He hasn't taken care of himself, cleaned himself, anything. David goes, what's up with you, dude? You're not looking good. He says, I tried to get to you, and Ziba took the people and left me there. I'm paralyzed. I can't get on a donkey. I wanted to come. David goes, okay, you guys will split it. I'm done with you guys. And here's the verse I want us to look at. Chapter 19, verse 31. Now Barzillai the Gileadite had come down from Rogelim. He went on with the king to the Jordan to escort him over the Jordan. Barzillai was a very old guy, 80 years old. He had provided the king with food while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was very wealthy. The king said to Barzillai, come over with me. I'll provide for you in Jerusalem at my side. And Barzillai said, I was thinking I could have a little bit more than that. Got any cash on you, credit? No, that's not what Barzillai said. And Barzillai said to the king, how many years have I got to live that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? Today, I'm 80 years old. Can I discern what's pleasant, what's not? Can your servant taste what he eats or what he drinks? Can I still listen to the voice of men singing and women singing? Why then should your servant be an added burden to my lord the king? Your servant will go a little ways over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king recompense me with such a word? Please, let your servant return so that I can die in my own town, near the graves of my father and my mother. Here's your servant Kimham. Let him go over with my lord. What did Barzillai want out of the deal? Nothing. He says, I'm old, I'm rich as Croesus. I can't taste what I eat. I can't taste what I drink. I can't listen to music anymore. I'm old, I'm tired, and I'm loaded. I just figured you guys were tired. I figured you were hot. It doesn't seem like you were having a good time. There happens to be a civil war going on. I figured you could use some beds. He's not an opportunist. You see, there's a massive difference between help and business. He's just somebody who saw a need and said, I'm rich. What am I going to do with it? I'm not into politics. I got no use for this stuff. I got this massive thing. I don't care. Give him some food. I don't know. Throw in the caviar, the 69 chateau, whatever. I don't care. Just load it out. I'm done. You see, our society trains us to be opportunists. It trains us to be entrepreneurs. It trains us and socializes us to be transactional, to go, hey, is there a win-win here? How about a lose-win? Where I lose and you win. That's Barzillai. I'm not looking for a win-win. I'm not looking for what's in it for me. I'm not looking for that opportunity, that fire sale, that diminished stock, that distressed thing. I'm not looking for the moment when my enemy is, oh, they fell. They don't look so good now. I can get in there. I'm not looking for when my No. It says, how about a lose-win? And we're trained to compete from the day we are born. And Christians are called to something else. As Paul said to the Romans, if your enemy is hungry, you feed him. If he's thirsty, you give him something to drink. That's Christian revenge. We're trained from the time we date. Oh, they had a fight. Maybe it's time for me to call. Think about the moment that you get the chance to say, I told you so to your spouse. That moment when they're at disadvantage and you get to say that you're right. Maybe that's the moment to say, you know what, I really love you. How can I serve you? Paul had it nailed. This is how we run things. He said it in Galatians as well. He says, let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all, especially unto those who are of the household of faith. So you want to know what happened next? We waited about 3 hours on the sand. We went down under a tree and we waited in the shade while our car was stuck. We come back out. That party had kind of died down, got grumpy and left. So did the 4-bys. Most of the people on the beach were gone. There's this one guy kind of sitting there. We're walking up to the car. I'm like, man, that guy looks like Richard Branson. He's like sitting there, tan, reading his thing. We put the floor mats out. I'm trying to rock it. Wendy's at the wheel because she drives better than I do. Trying to get in, and it'll take us a little while. Guy puts the stuff in and comes over and goes, can I help you push? I noticed that you're stuck. Only guy who said that. 4 hours at the beach on a stuck car with people all around partying. Like, yeah, bro, thanks. One push, and she's out and gone. Like, come back and get me. Not the way you drive. Sorry. I'm like, bro, thank you so much. He goes, it happens. I'm like, my name's Adam. He goes, Richard, good to meet you. I don't know. I didn't dare ask him his last name. I think it was Barzillai the Gileadite. It's like, I just saw a need. The Lord will give you opportunities this week. You can choose either revenge, self-advancement, or Christian servanthood. May the Lord give you the presence of mind and the generosity of spirit to choose Christian servanthood. Shall we pray? Lord, thank you so much for granting us to be your hands and feet and voice in this world. We pray that you would teach us the difference between servanthood and business. Teach us to be opportunists for your light and for your love. in your name and to your glory, Lord. Amen. Would you please stand? May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine on you. May the Lord be gracious to you. May he use you as the glove on his hand. May you have his eyes, his heart, and his compassion, his selflessness toward others this week. And all God's people said, amen. Go in grace.